Good afternoon from Bucky and myself. Right, so to my more faithful followers, this might all look frightfully familiar, but don't worry, we have not travelled back in time to March 2020. We are still in January 2022 when most of us have had 2 vaccinations. Some of us have even had a booster jab, which is a troisième dose, as you say in French. Anyway, so things are looking much rosier than they were 2 years ago. Today I want to talk to you about the verb to go on strike, or a strike. So the verb is to go on strike, not to make a strike. Because my students often ask me, "Mais madame, are you going to make a strike?" No, it's Mrs. Kezart, are you going to go on strike? So before you go on strike, you have to put in a strike notice or notice of strike. The right to strike is intrinsic in most constitutions of the world. There's only a few countries where you cannot strike. Of course, North Korea is one of them. And then you have the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. You know, that country that is exploiting all those foreign workers to build stadiums for the FIFA World Cup at the end of the year. No further comment. And my husband used to work in Saudi Arabia, and so he told me a funny story, which is true. There once was a strike in Saudi Arabia. Of course, it was by French people. 3 French expatriates decided to go on strike. Well, what happened to them? The Saudi authorities came to their office, escorted them back to their hotels to get their things, and then they drove them straight to the airport and put them on the first Air France flight back to Paris. Okay, so in English we have quite a few different ways of going on strike. You can have a general strike. A general strike is when trade unions from many different sectors call for their workers to go on strike. So it could be transport, education, the public sector. They all ask for their workers to go on strike. You can have a sympathy strike. A sympathy strike is when, for example, one sector is on strike. For example, train drivers. I don't know why I always think of that in France. And then the teachers go on strike to support them in their demands. You can have a sit-down strike. Now, a sit-down strike is when the workers occupy their factory or their workplace. They don't do any work, but they stay in the building or in the premises until their demands are met. You can have a slow down or go slow strike, in which case the workers continue to work. They don't down tools, but they work very slowly, so production is limited. You can have a hunger strike, which is very dramatic, and that's when people stop eating until, their demands are met. You can have a rolling strike. A rolling strike is a bit different because in a rolling strike, the movement moves from different sectors or from different production sites. So the employer doesn't really know where the strike is going to happen next. So it's very difficult for them to hire extra people to work or things like that. And my favorite kind of strike is the wildcat strike. I love that name, wildcat. So a wildcat strike is when employees go on strike or workers go on strike, they down tools, but without any authorization from a trade union or their employer, and they have not put in a strike notice. So there you go. Those are some different ways that workers around the world can protest and express themselves and say that they're not happy and that they want to change things. I wish you a lovely end of the day. The sun's come out, and I will see you tomorrow in class.